are very, very privileged indeed to have our next two speakers up on the stage to discuss a fascinating subject which I know that you will be enthralled to listen to. It is about profitable growth, sustaining in a post-IPO world. What's next, we ask? Well, our next discussion will cover the essence of thriving under the public market pressure while staying profitable. Please welcome to the stage Debashish Mukherjee, the partner and regional lead, consumer and retail, Middle East and Africa from Kearney, who is going to be in conversation with Sunil Kumar, the CEO of Spinneys, and they're going to decode the concept of IPO for a retailer in depth. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speakers to the stage.
Hello. Great. Good afternoon for folks who've made time to attend. And Sunil, a big thank you for doing this session.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be with you, and I'm very excited that you'll be able to share your wisdom on some things which I think are very, very important today. There are a couple of things on this topic why I tried to convince Sunil to speak about this. The first is profitable growth. And as many of you in the region and elsewhere in the world know, growth with profits is often very difficult. It's an oxymoron. And who better than Sunil as the highest margin grocery retailer, one of the largest companies in the Middle East, to talk about it. And then being fit gives you the opportunity to do many things in life, including IPO. I think it's a very, very unique journey in a leader's life, and Sunil has made it happen. So a little bit, perhaps to inspire you all about what were the lessons from the IPO. And I want to mix it a little bit with the whole topic of profitability, and a lot of people ask us about AI, Gen AI, and is it really driving profitability in your business? So we're going to mix it up a little bit, but overall on profitable growth. So Sunil, let's start with the whole point on profitable growth and how you first made the company fit for an IPO. And then, of course, we'll come to the IPO bit. And I know you find it difficult to speak about the secret sauce, but still some wisdom on achieving consistent year-on-year growth in the toughest categories anywhere in the world and achieving world-beating margins. Are there some learnings you want to share with the group here?
Thank you, Deba. Look, I don't know whether when you call it as a profitable growth, it is very difficult, and I don't want to get into consumers' mind. What does that mean by whether we are taking more margin from customers, etc. Now, this business has been here since last 60 years. We started with one store in Knife Road. Now we have almost 79 stores. And I always ask question. I have been part of the journey almost 30 years. And I always believe it is important that any businesses who understands what is the value addition for customers. Now, we have understood what is the purpose of the business and how will we add value for customers and how can we differentiate our value proposition from other brick and mortar or any other retailers. And that is the important factor for a business because they understand what exactly the value of the business. Now, almost 60 years in UAE and in Oman, it is an evolution of different things. We deal with the 65% of the fresh food. One of the reasons why you have seen the highest margin because we deal with very complex dynamic product mix. And to deal with that, you need to build an infrastructure requirement. For example, you have to build your own sourcing capabilities. We built our sourcing capabilities across the continent. We built our production units in UAE. We built our logistics system. We built our private label, and it's almost 43% of the business is from private label. And at the same time, we use a very robust system for helping us to get these supply chain efficiencies. Now, look, the question is, I am actually diverting from your question bit, but I have to give you a perspective of the business first to understand why it is a profitable business. We always believe that we wanted to be part of the evolution of the food habits of the customers, and once you understand you wanted to be a part of their food habits, you will be always striving to achieve the food habits, and you have to be always on the new product development, etc. Now, it has been a private company until May 9th when we listed. And it was 100% shareholding by Al-Bawadi family. In 1999, he bought the 100% share. Prior to that, he was a 50% partnership with a business organization from UK. Since he bought it over, and it's almost 25 years, he was a single shareholder family business. And it is very difficult for a family business to think about IPO because, that's not the way. And he was a great entrepreneur, and he understands what is good for the business as a long term. Luckily, he was in agreement that he has to take this company to the next stage. And the macroeconomic activities of this region was conducive for us to go for public. And this is a business actually very robust, and the governance and procedures, and I was not worried about that part. Now, I will be continuing. Rather, I will give you time to ask a second question. Deba.
Sure. My related question, Sunil, is I know, and you've also mentioned, how much keeping pace with the consumer is important. In other words, innovations and experiments has been an important part of your life. So my question is, now in a world when it is not private anymore and it is measured, how are you able to balance the quarter-on-quarter profitability, month-on-month reports with what you actually want to do? Do you see any positives or perhaps even negatives of being listed versus how you've kept pace with innovation? So to summarize, innovation, money required for innovation, and how it affects profitability. How are you looking at it now?
Look, if you look at little more rational and sit back and think about the job the brick and mortar does. Now, in the past, the brick and mortar did not have an other choice. Now, consumers having another choice of going to the e-commerce, and they don't have to come to your store. And it is an important role the retailers have to play to bring the customers inside the brick and mortar where the experience is. And as long as we understand as a business what customers, how can we add value for consumers, and as long as we understand bringing value for customers and adding value to the customers, regardless whether it is in a brick and mortar or in e-commerce, we believe always customers will support you because that is the trust we have created. Going public has given us an opportunity to listen to outside the ecosystem, which was not in the past. What I meant by that, you have an additional investors who will be asking questions, who will be asking about the future it is not they're asking what is going to happen next year, they're asking within 10 years what are you going to do. So it all gives us a lot of opportunity to think about the future. At the same time, though it is listed, I am not looking at that it is a listed company, but we haven't compromised, or we haven't taken our eyes from the core principle of the business, that looking at the food evolution of the consumers and bringing the product range for the consumers, bringing the convenience for the consumers, and it is a customer-centric, I'm not saying it is as a cliche, but it is a customer-centric business. We always believe that the customers who come to you, they trust from Spinneys what they are expecting. So the freshness, quality, and the value proposition which we have been doing for the consumers always will give a benefit, and it will always give a growth, and the profit, they will support the profit. In fact, when we were sitting outside, standing outside and chatting with Amitabh, and I always believe what he said. He said, you know, always if you are looking at the purpose of the business, and the business will, the consumers will protect you. And the purpose of the business is to inspire and nourish the communities to live better lives day by day. So we stick to that principle all the time. And that will protect the business. And that will also give us new ways for going forward.
It's really amazing to hear that, and I hope it's inspiring for everybody in this room. And I wish you continued growth so that you don't have to take the trade-off. But everybody knows the numbers, right? Grocery retailers are flat to negative in the region. So personally, I hear very few people who have that conviction. So I would love your conviction to spread more amongst the leaders here in the room. Moving to the topic of IPO, and obviously you've told me earlier, you first have to be fit to do other things. Can you take us a little bit through your IPO journey, the key learnings, key moments, watch outs, and of course it's been super satisfying, but something for them to take away, our friends here.
I have heard a lot of negative commentary about IPO, and it's like a humongous way to go up. But my experience, we did an IPO within less than 7 months. So why it was possible for us to list a privately owned family business to public? Because we are confident in what we do. We have been running the business so transparent. The governance procedures and policies of the business is as if we have listed in the past. And our value proposition are unique, and as long as you have a unique value proposition which has been giving the shareholders and the future shareholders a guaranteed profit, and the growth trajectory is ahead of us, it is easy. So what I'm trying to say is an equity story to build, it's easy as long as the business is unique. And the business has a vision going forward within 5 to 10 years, what you're going to do it. And the consumer's habit and consumers' eating revolution, I should say, and that has been changing, and we are adapting that changing model. And we are implementing, investing in that evolution. I think that's made us possible for making that equity story very strong. At the same time, it is not an easy job. As a CEO and the leadership team, you have to look after the business now. And IPO is a task itself. It is not an easy ride. But one of the important things which I have to advise whoever going to an IPO, ensure that your leadership team is ready to take as a spirit and get into the future, and it will give them a lot of mileage, a lot of knowledge. You are not dealing with your consumers and customers, customers and the suppliers or the ecosystem around retail, but you have to deal with now bankers, lawyers, communication partners, and investors, whether it is retail investors or international retailers. Then you have to deal with the authorities. You have to deal with where we are going to list, etc. So it is an eye-opening for, and I have learned a lot of things from this, which was not an experience. I am fortunate that I got an opportunity to go along with this IPO readiness and made it possible for us to list the company. And our financial advisor, as you know, and Deba, by the way, Deba also was one of our partner for readiness for the IPO. He was, not particularly Deba, Kearney was part of the journey to do the market research. So as you know, it wasn't easy for the other stakeholders to work with the Spinneys because we were very transparent. That's made us possible to get the listing quicker, faster, as you have seen. Within 7 months, I don't think that the financial advisors, Rothschild, was wondering how it was possible for us to get it listed within 7 months.
7 months, even in my experience, typically they give a time of about 2 years minimum. So 7 is amazing. Any watch-outs?
As long as you don't shift from your core unique positioning, you don't have to worry about the business. But the microeconomic activities of the region, what it is robust, and it is the tailwind is behind you, so it is a helping factor. My view is the business have to be more transparent like we have been transparent to the single shareholder in the past. We have to be transparent for the new shareholders and explain to them what we are facing and what will be the future, what we see, what we forecast, etc. As long as you are very transparent with the shareholders, I don't see any problems. And we are doing a service. We are in a service industry. As long as we understand what consumers want and we are not shifting from our unique positioning, I don't see a problem ahead. But macroeconomic activities, of course, it is not for Spinneys or it is not for a listed company, but it is overall, this region will have an impact. So hopefully everything is in a right path now, and I don't see anything is going to happen within the next 5 years.
Lovely. Thanks, Sunil. I'm going to shift gears and I'll leave some time for questions for some of you, just so that we are not on our own journey out here. I want to shift gears a little bit into profitability and AI or Gen AI and some of those terms. Because I've always found you having a very pragmatic approach and not getting into jargon. So my simple question is Spinneys deploying and gaining any advantage from any kinds of AI tools and algorithms, either on the customer side or on the efficiency side?
Spinneys is a very complex business. Now, I have told you that why we are making margin what you have seen in the IPO. Because 63% of the revenue is generated from fresh food. When I mention fresh food, it has predominantly the product assortment will have 1-day shelf life, which means you have to produce in the morning, and end of the day, if it is not being sold, you have to write it off. Now, it is a very complex business. And when it becomes a very complex and dynamic business, you need to have system support. So we are using an artificial intelligence forecasting and replenishment systems. We look at every day 1 million datas, and the 1 million datas looking at the site combination. Example, a bigger stores will have nearly 30,000 articles listed. And likewise, the 30,000 articles and the different fascias we have. We have a bigger format store, smaller format stores. We have an e-commerce. So all these datas have to give you a right quantity, right production, etc. on time. And I always tell an example. To make a sandwich, which everybody is so familiar with, you need to have a bread, you need to have a fillings, you need to have a packaging. But you'll think about only the bread which you have to bring in. You have to have a flour, you have to have other ingredients, sugar, salt, any other stabilizer, etc. So you have to bring it in. And it is not coming from one country. You have to source it from across the globe. Then the filling which goes inside, whether it is meat or fish, and the vegetables, those are also brought from different countries with 1-day shelf life, by the way. So it is very complex. To bring a sandwich in front of the customers with a quality and quantity, right quantity and the right quality, we have to source from different 44 countries. Now, we are sourcing almost on 44 countries on daily basis and ensuring the quality is not affected, and that human brain cannot do it. It is impossible for somebody to forecast and the ingredients and bringing from different supply chain with the different lead time. So artificial intelligence is a big support for the business, particularly a dynamic business like us who sell 65% of the business through the fresh food. So artificial intelligence are extensively used in the business, and we have seen that benefit of it.
That's a fantastic example. I could relate to that. Anything on the customer side? Because I know you have personally pushed e-commerce also extraordinarily well. Can't reveal the numbers, but it's amongst the highest e-commerce amongst grocery retailers. So for customer intimacy, personalization, and other jargons which people are throwing, is this something, an area where you're finding some stickiness being created because of that, or not necessarily?
You know, those who are listening will probably laugh. We did not have an e-commerce until 2019. A business stupidly thought e-commerce is not required for the business. Then we started in 2019, and when the COVID hit us badly, customers did not have an option to come to our store and shop. Then they were asking about e-commerce. Then we realized that a retail business, food business particularly, cannot be run without e-commerce. So we started using aggregators, and because that was an easy thing to do. And I realized that it is not easy to build ourselves an e-commerce system. So what I did, I engaged with an existing platform and a service provider and asked them to work with me for 3 years contract, and after 3 years I will buy it over. So we built that system through an existing player, and that's what made us possible. Now, one of the other things which we don't have it, and I don't believe that it is the right time, which is the loyalty card program. You may be asking, how do we know about customers and how do we know their eating habit and buying habit, etc. I have my own opinion, and I don't want to have a discussion on loyalty card here, but I wanted to ensure that the existing customers, we have nearly 100,000 customers who are coming every day to our stores. And we wanted to ensure those 100,000 customers, when they come to our stores, they will be treated well, we will be giving them what they are looking for, and each and every colleagues who work in brick and mortar are creating an emotional connection with the customers. That's what makes us different than the e-commerce. When they come to our store, we wanted to ensure that they are coming to the family and we are treating them like a family member, and when they walk out from the store, they feel that they were part of the family. That e-commerce doesn't give that opportunity. And because we are in a high-tech era, we are losing that emotional connection, and we have to find something different for the future. How can we connect emotionally with customers without losing that touch which you have been giving from the brick and mortar? And if you ask me whether the brick and mortar will be surviving, my answer is 100%. It is going to be sustainable, and it will survive. But e-commerce also will grow along with that. We started with the 0% of sales revenue from e-commerce. Now we are almost on 13.5%, almost 14% in fact. So that growth was not possible if we didn't implement an e-commerce.
Creating that loyalty at scale is really fantastic, Sunil. I haven't told you, but last December 24th or 25th, I think about 12 in the night, I entered a Spinneys store and bought some ice creams for my family. And they started eating the ice creams even before paying. But when we went to the counter, the gentleman said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you guys enter. My cash is closed. You come tomorrow and pay it." And I was not even from that locality. This was in downtown area below Burj Khalifa. It was pretty amazing. So anyway, we went back next day and paid, but that is the kind of intimacy. And we had almost finished the ice creams by the time we reached the thing. And, that poor guy took a risk. Who knows whether we'll come back tomorrow.
Right? One of the things of Spinneys is, the culture of Spinneys is, you give an autonomy for each individual. Regardless that person is packing or cleaning the floor, but we have given them an autonomy to take the right decision for the business and consumers. Now, there are some incidents. There are customers who have, their basket is 5,000, their credit card doesn't work, and we just ask them to walk away from the store and give us the details. And some customers take it as an advantage and they don't come and pay. But 90% of the customers actually come back and give us the credit what we have done it. So that's what it is, emotional connection.
At scale, that's amazing.
That's what the brand is known for, and that's what the brand will be known for the future. That particular connection we will be losing if everybody is focusing on e-commerce. But that is the choice of the consumers, because they wanted to get an immediate gratification of the deliveries from wherever they are looking for. And I don't think that there is an option, but there is an opportunity. How can we connect emotionally through that e-commerce deliveries?
Absolutely. Last question. I know you don't like talking about yourself, and the question, I mean, you have a lot to do, but what kind of legacy do you see yourself leaving behind? And if you don't want to talk about yourself, maybe you want to convert it into a institution building question. Because profitable growth to be sustained in future, what are some of those institution building things you're leaving behind, or any other way you wish to answer that question? And if we can have some mics around for any questions, we're almost getting to time. So what's the legacy you would like to be known for?
You know, I've been part of the business 30 years. And I started from the shop floor, which I'm going to talk on my journey with Spinneys. And I became the CEO of the business. And you don't see much companies in the Middle East probably that made possible. So there is a culture element and the character element of the business. And my job going forward is to ensure that culture is not affected, and that will continue serving the communities to live better lives. So that will be the legacy I will leave forward, because I believe always individuals are not important in the business, or the departments are not important in the business. Business itself is important. The brand has a character, it has a personality, and the personality of that brand will take care of itself, but we have to ensure that the ecosystem around that personality is built properly, and the culture will take care of that part.
Loved it. Thank you, Sunil. Okay, we have 2-3 minutes left. Do any of you have any questions for Sunil?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to hear your comment about your entering Saudi market. And you didn't think so it was a bit late for Spinneys to enter Saudi market?
Very good question. You know, I took over as a CEO in 2019, and one of my 5-year plan was to come to Saudi Arabia. So why it is an important part to be in Saudi Arabia? Because almost 33 million people, and if I'm looking at Kearney data, in Riyadh itself, 11 million people, almost 3.3 million people, similar behavior pattern, similar disposable income like a Spinneys consumers in UAE. So it is a market which we have to be, and we can't be known as a Middle East brand, particularly GCC brand, without being at Saudi Arabia. So the question why it was in the past we didn't attempt to be in Saudi Arabia. You look what are the transformation has been taken place in Saudi Arabia. Economic, social reformation has been dramatically implemented in Saudi Arabia. And this may be a right time for showcasing a quality index food retailing in Saudi Arabia. So we tried last year actually to open the store, but it is not faster as I thought. it is a slow pace, whether it is in real estate to get it on, or whether the supply chain capabilities of the infrastructure-wise. So it is a slower, but our next future is in Saudi Arabia. We have to be in Riyadh. We have opened first store in 3 months before, and the response what we have got is amazing. And we are more thrilled to go and look at Saudi Arabia as a market. And we will be opening next to 5 stores within 2 years' time. Second store is opening in October. The work is going on in King Abdullah Financial District. And third will be in Javaharat Mall, and third and fourth and fifth will be before 2024. So the market, the question is why we were late. The answer is because we saw and reformation is taking place, and it was not possible for us to overcome the hurdles of the system, and the property development was not taking place. Look, if you look at Riyadh as a city, if you look at now, a lot of new properties are being built, and we wanted to be in the new properties because the young generation has an aspiration to have a brand like Spinneys to come and experience the shopping within the assortment which we provide. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Any other questions? We are over time, but if there's one last, we can go for it. Okay, thank you all very much. Sunil, thank you for agreeing to do this session. I hope there was enough food for thought for all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Yeah, much appreciated.